Hey Griffin, Wildcats, class 2026. Dr. Richardson here. Notice anything different? Yes, I got a new haircut. After last week, I was like, whoo, we got to change some changes. Um, anyway, notice a different background. Anybody know where this is? Maybe this could possibly be a clue. Yeah, write in the chat. Write in the chat and see if you know where this is. I hope that you know that it's Seattle. I've decided that I want to start putting up on my backgrounds places that I want to go to. And I watch Grey's Anatomy every now and then, and I love the way that the Seattle is portrayed and how pretty it is. And it's just one place, and you know what? And also I like coffee, and I like to go to Starbucks. So I know they have Starbucks coffee there, and they have a lot of water. I love to be around water. So this is some place that I want to go to one day. I've flown over it, but I would actually like to spend some time in Seattle. So anyway, little fun thing about me. So now we're going to get into the second step lesson, but before we do, I want you to share with your teacher what we talked about last week. What was that lesson about? It was just actually, yeah, last week. What was that about? So take a few seconds and talk about that and see if you guys can remember, so you can pause this video. Okay, so last week was how we can grow our brain. And, we talked about how that leads to, that growth mindset. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about that. So now we're going to get into our lesson. And I found it right away. Unlike last week when I was on the struggle bus to find the video, this week I've got it. So here we go. So now we're going to share. And this is about learning from mistakes and failure. I don't know about you, but I really hate making mistakes, and I make a lot of them. But that's what this lesson is about, is learning from mistakes and failure. And I don't think anybody really enjoys making mistakes or failing. But we're gonna realize that there's actually some pretty good things about making mistakes and how they can actually be a learning opportunity. So here we go. So here is, well, actually, I want to do a little thumbs up activity. So thumbs up if you think making a mistake is normal, if that's something that normally happens. So we're going to let you pause the video and let you guys do a thumbs up if you think it is normal to make mistakes. Okay, welcome back. After answering that question, I hope that you realize that the majority of the class thinks that that is normal to make mistakes. Guys, everybody makes them. We make them all the time. So I want you to think about, I want you to, in the warm up, and I hope you guys are using, I hope you guys are using that handout that was given. I think this is something good to help you exercise and to write, because one of the things that we want you to do is to start writing more. And some of the easiest things to do is to write about yourself, okay? Because it's something you know. So here's a question. What's something new or difficult you did recently where you messed up or made a mistake? So I'm going to ask your teacher to pause the video, and you guys hopefully write it out or discuss it. Okay. Well, I'm going to share a little something about me as far as making mistakes. And I never really learned how to cook. I like to eat and I like to do all that stuff, but I've recently, I think as all of us, we're cooking more and we're in the home more. And I'm learning that I'm making a lot of mistakes. I'm making a lot of mistakes. I've made some really bad dishes, but you know what? I'm learning. Oh, okay, wow, I need to make sure I don't do that this time, or I don't do that next time, or, I've really been learning a lot. And so when I find something that I like, I'm starting to write it down so then I can remember it for next time. So we're going to watch this video, and in your handout, you're going to see that there's three big questions that I want you to answer as you're watching this video. And really, these questions, you can probably apply a similar question to almost any type of mistake or thing that we feel like we failed at. So when you're watching this video, I want you to answer the question, what big mistake did the engineers make? So what did they do? What was the mistake they did? And what did they learn from the mistake? What was something that they learned? And then lastly, what would have happened if they had just given up? How many, and a lot of us do, we want to just give up after we make a mistake, but what would have happened if the engineers had given up? So let's watch this video and see if you can answer those three questions. I know you can, so no problem.
When it first opened to the public in 1940, the Tacoma Narrows Bridge in Washington State was the third longest suspension bridge in the world and a wonder to behold. But after only 4 months in operation, it crashed into the water below. What caused this amazing span of steel and concrete to collapse? To understand why the bridge collapsed, it helps to understand why it was built in the first place. People needed an easy, fast way to cross the Tacoma Narrows. Engineers presented the state with two options. They chose the lighter suspension design because it would look better, be faster to build, and save the state $5 million. Some engineers voiced concerns that the lighter, narrower design was structurally unsound for the conditions of the Narrows. But saving time and money was appealing enough that state officials moved forward with the cheaper option. Unfortunately, as the engineers had suspected, the design was flawed. The structure would undulate up and down in the strong winds across the Narrows. Not exactly a comfortable ride. Soon after its unveiling, the bridge was nicknamed Galloping Gertie. On a particularly windy day, several months after it opened, the bridge's up and down motion grew to a violent twisting from side to side. The force was too much for the span to handle, and Gertie could gallop no more. The collapse of the Tacoma Narrows Bridge was a shock, but there were lessons to be learned. Engineers, seeking to learn everything they could from their catastrophic mistake, began a 10-year period of research and design. The final design they created was a sturdier, wider bridge that had been rigorously tested for safety in high winds. The replacement Tacoma Narrows Bridge was open to traffic on October 14, 1950. Sturdy Gertie, as the new bridge became known, was indeed more solid than its predecessor. So solid, in fact, that when an eastbound companion bridge was completed in 2007, Sturdy Gertie was still standing, strong as ever. It stood the test of time for nearly 70 years. The replacement Tacoma Narrows Bridge is considered a hallmark of aerodynamic engineering that ushered in a new era of suspension bridge design. It even led engineers to reinforce other bridges across the country. None of these advances in bridge design or engineering would have been possible if it weren't for one big mistake and a group of determined people who refused to give up until they'd learned from it.
Okay, so can you guys answer those three questions? So I'm going to let you guys pause the video and answer these three questions. Welcome back. So what'd you find out? What big mistake did the engineers make? What did they learn? And what would have happened if they'd given up? I hope you guys had a good discussion about that. So now we're going to move on to an activity. And this is where we want you to, apply. What you've just learned, we're going to give you another example, a scenario that will give you just some different ideas here. So Manny loves to read, but when he was, actually, I'm going to stop and I'm going to let somebody else, somebody from the class want to read this, or you guys want to read this to yourself. All right, so Manny's mistake, even though he put the flyers all over the school, he only received one donation. And so it's been a whole month and he'd been waiting and waiting and waiting for donations to come in. So he began to feel discouraged. Look how discouraged he feels. He feels really discouraged and ready to quit. How many of us have felt like that? How many times have we felt discouraged? We have this great idea and we're gung-ho and we get out there and then nobody takes our idea. Nobody, we don't get people to follow us. It's a really discouraging feeling because that happens, it happens to all of us. So Manny wonders if he should redesign the flyers or make them bigger. He's like, let me see, what do I need to do? Do I need to change the flyers or do I need to make them bigger? But then he looks around at his classmates and he sees that everybody is busy checking their phones. And he's like, they're not looking at flyers, they're looking at their phones. So instead of making new flyers, he said that didn't work. So instead of making new flyers, he creates a website and a few social media accounts to promote his project. So he's speaking to the audience, he's found a different way to connect. He tells his friends about it, about his website, and they share it with others. Let's see if the outcome's a little bit different. Word spreads and Manny receives several donations. Look at Manny's face. Doesn't he look happier? So people even like and share photos of his project on social media. So it's reaching even more people. And he's just feeling so much better. And look at all those books that he's got that he can give to others. And share his passion, share something that he loves to do. So now we're going to take a time and in your class, I want you guys to answer and discuss and write them out on your sheet or wherever your teacher wants to do it. So let's pause and let's handle these 3 questions. All right, class of 2026, we're going to wrap this up, but I want you to think about this. I want you to think about the mistake you described in the warm-up. I want you to think about it. What have you learned from it? And what could you have done differently? So those are 3 great questions because we want you guys, as we talked about earlier, you guys are all going to have failures. It's just the way of life. And it's part of the growth mindset to recognize that we're all going to have failures. But instead of giving up, which is what we all want to, it's all what we all want to do. I want to do it. So I know you guys do. We all want to give up, but instead of giving up, you need to start to learn from them, to learn and recognize that it's not about anything about you personally. It doesn't mean anything negative about you. It just means you made a mistake and we're going to learn from it. Okay. So I've enjoyed this time with you and I look forward to seeing you soon face to face. Bye, class of 2026. Bye-bye.